CountryWide CONNECT, connecting farmers and growers to what they need to know to grow. Your daily innovative rural show with Andy Thompson and Sarah Perriam-Lampp.
Right now, though, let's bring in Conan Moynihan from GroundShift. You might know these guys from Quorum Sense, a wider conversation around lower input biology-led farming system. This year, that work has taken on a new shape with the launch of GroundShift. Conan, g'day, mate. Welcome to the show. Really appreciate your time. Nice to have you there, and I can see you're out in the sunshine somewhere. Where are you?
Thank you for having me on, Andy. I'm in the beautiful Amuri Basin today, dealing with a new client who's looking to transition to organic dairy supply here in South Holland. So, yeah, no place better to be today.
Certainly a lovely looking day there. Nice blue skies. Can you, before we have a chat, give us a spin around, show us where you are. Or is that your laptop?
Right,
You're on your
yeah,
laptop, are you? I'm making it a bit hard for you.
No,
Look at that.
I'm on my phone here. Yeah, so got the Lowry Peaks there behind me. We're on a very beautiful farm, dairy farm here, plenty of trees. And, yeah, it's absolute peeler day here today. Pretty hot.
Mate, that's fantastic. I've been stuck inside all day. I'm going to go and get some fresh air fairly shortly when the show finishes at 1 o'clock. But hey, look, just first, we'll talk about GroundShift in a minute, but you guys were involved in Quorum Sense. That was a regen project. Where is that right now?
Yeah, so that's more so my business partners, Sam Lang and Chanel O'Sullivan. They were instrumental in helping spin up Quorum Sense, which is a group around the regen farming community here in New Zealand. Still very much active in the background. They received some funding from the government, which is now coming to an end. So they're kind of going through a phase at the moment of just where to next and how do we best support that regen farming community. But also, how do we get the next lot of people in and with the right education and support so that they can feel comfortable about the decisions that they're making too.
All right. Tell me a little bit about GroundShift. What are you? This is not an organisation I've heard of before.
Yeah, so GroundShift is really spun up at the start of this year. We're working together as a group last year, and we came together with various backgrounds. We're all farmers or have been farmers in the past in the team, and we essentially decided that working together was better than working alone, and that we saw a real opportunity to support farmers who were looking to go down the more biologically driven, with a real focus on building resilience in farm systems, but also how do we create more profitability in our farms as well. So for us, it's not about sacrificing profitability. It's really key to the farm system, but also how do we build that longer term resilience. And now with what's happening overseas, it's seems to be almost the correct time for us to be spinning up this farm advisory system.
You know the old saying, you never waste a good crisis. Farmers are looking at ways to pivot, that's an old COVID term, to readjust their farming operations to make sure that they're using their resources the most efficiently on farm. Some farmers are looking to reduce costs or input costs. What sort of things are you talking to your clients or to your people, or advice just to farmers about ways that they can be looking at their systems at the moment? Again, not about profitability. It might reduce production slightly, but profitability is the key here, right?
Yeah, profitability is the key. And I guess when you see the prices rise as quickly as they have, you have less control over that. So it's about focusing on what you can control in your farm business, but also inherently realizing that you can't starve a profit into a business as well. So you can't just pull things out and hope it to perform as it has been in the past. So how do we make those decisions better going forward? So understanding where you are currently, and then what's that longer term vision for the business. And inherently when a crisis does come, it is a great time to try new things. And it's just about having the right support behind you to make sure that you are on track to do it well. And you're not actually going to get yourself in more of a pickle, you could say, on top of what the pricing is now. So it's definitely tough, and I think it's the conversations we're having is a lot of farmers are looking, what's the opportunity here to become more efficient with my resources that I am using, and where can I prioritise my spend over the next 12 months, particularly looking at this as a longer term thing rather than just, what's going to happen over the next couple of months here.
Yeah, I suppose we're looking at two things at the moment, right? We're looking at short term, what can we do right now, but then how can that transition into longer term things? Like, I was thinking, when it just comes to a more conventional dairy farm system, things that you can do to not, and David Burkett was talking about it earlier in the show from from Federated Farmers, potentially looking at the job. Do you need to use the 150, 200 horse tractor? Can you use the 120 or the 80 to do the job, right? Do you need to top as often? If you do that, what's the reduction in production by doing that? Like practical things that farmers can do. Are they asking you for things like that?
Yeah, absolutely. And looking at those are some really great options. It's also cultivation. If you're doing full cultivation in the system, that's a lot of passes and a lot of diesel you're using. So is there an opportunity to use potentially some of your better paddocks and do a one-pass direct drill and save yourself a lot of those costs as well, because contracting costs will be going up on the other side, not just the fuel. So there are opportunities there, and people are starting to think about how can I minimize my fuel usage. That's the one that's really starting to hurt. I filled up my ute this morning. It was $2 more per litre of diesel than it was 2 or 3 weeks ago. So I'm starting to feel it a bit as well and think about how I can package my work together so I can utilise that better. There's also things around, like a lot of people going back and forth for jobs, running for tools. So how do we get our workforce or our staff to actually buy into, we've got to utilise this efficiently, and how can we make sure we've got all the tools for the right job, make sure there's not a lot of back and forth. If we're going to town, can we carpool together or carpool with a neighbour, and go and do a weekly shop together and just save a bit of fuel that way? And then when it comes to the topping and things, is that really necessary? Do we need to do the whole platform, or can we just do the few paddocks that are in front of the cow when it comes to that part of the season? There's a lot of fear around that you lose your quality there too, and I think inherently we need to realise that fibre is actually really good for a cow or a sheep and helping their rumen fire. So potentially just playing around with actually some of those paddocks and seeing if they do go a little bit to seed, do they need to actually be topped, and what that does to you in the vat as well.
Yeah, and then longer term, that's the short term, and lots of little tools like that. Then you've got, the medium to longer term is things like pasture choices, right? We're talking dairy here in particular, but even to the extent it might even be cow type. And is there things that you can do to change the way you operate to make it more efficient? Yeah, absolutely. And I guess that's where being very clear on what your end goal is with the farm system, like looking 10 years down the track, where do we want to be and how resilient and profitable is my current system? So understanding that baseline. We have to only look, 5 years ago at COVID to see that something similar happened in terms of pricing. So this could be something that regularly happens or more regularly happens. So how do we build a resilient system around that? So particularly like this farm I'm currently on, they've got quite a lot of diverse species in there, and they're growing more and more of that on their platform. And being in the Amiri Basin, the northwest here can really dry things out quickly, and it actually helps to build that resilience. So you're not using as much water. The cows are getting fed a more diverse diet, so they're actually performing pretty well and milking well still. And you get less of that seed head, so you might not need to top as much going into that as well. So that helps on the fuel front. We also look at things around integrating trees into the system. So trees actually are believed to steal a lot of water or steal a lot of nutrients from your pasture, but if you've actually got them in significant amounts in the farm system, you will actually help to cycle nutrients from lower down in the profile, bring up more water, and have a more natural, a better local water cycle within your farm. So you're creating, like we're seeing at the moment, really heavy dews on the farms. We can get that to extend longer into the season. So you're hanging on when it does get dry, and you're leading less of the inputs that come from outside the farm gate. If we're looking longer term, I guess when we think about resilience and what's happening right now, it's understanding where the energy that is coming into our system. A lot of our farms bring in a lot of supplement or fertilizer or fuel or energy from overseas, and that comes with cost and cost fluctuations. So how do we minimize that or create enough of that energy within our own system? So can we do things like create our own compost or utilize that effluent better within our site? A really good example of that at the moment is the North Island Frontier Organic Supply. They are all not really feeling this as much because they're largely self-contained systems, and they also get paid a premium on the other side. So they're actually doubling down on the profitability and resilience on their farm. All right. Conan, there's some great advice there. Now, I understand you guys got a webinar coming up, right? People will be able to access that from, correct me if I'm wrong on this, the GroundShift website?
Yep. You can sign up for there on, it's on the 14th of April, and we'll be covering off a few tips around what you can do with your farm, some ideas and thoughts and discussions around how we can actually build some more resilience in that farm system, and how we can actually start thinking about this more long term, so that when we take these learnings that we're going to do short term, how to actually scan these out over the next 5-10 years, so that when the next time this happens, we're not so stressed and feel like we're under the pump.
All right, mate. Sounds great. Well, might check in after that to see how it went and see what sort of questions you got from the farmers and what the conclusions were. Great to have you on the show, Conan Moynihan from GroundShift. Really appreciate your time. Thanks. We'll talk again.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Andy. Have a great day.
All righty.
CountryWide Connect, connecting farmers and growers to what they need to know to grow. Your daily innovative rural show with Andy Thompson and Sarah Perriam-Lampp.